俺んち暗殺家業なんだよね。で、そん中でも俺すっげえ期待されててさ。でもさ、俺嫌なんだよね、人にレール敷かれる人生ってやつ。キルは
しけた面してんじゃねえぞ、ゴン。
夜が明ければパドキア共和国だ。
パドキア。
すぐにキルアに会えるさ。
Not going to be that easy, my boy.
絶対に連れ戻すんだ。
ゴン、レオリオ、クラピカの3人はキルアが住むパドキア共和国デントラ地区へと足を踏み入れた。
I love this tone, man. That feeling, the road trip.
見えてきたぜ。あの山に暗殺一家のアジトか。なんだか不気味な雰囲気だよ
Yeah.
な。
Look at this.
高級観光バスをご利用いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。これからバスは暗殺一族で有名なゾルディック一家が住むククルーマウンテンへと進んでいます。
Whoa. It's got a name.
見ろや。
A lot of tourists. Oh.
明らかに仇じゃねえよな。
あちらがゾルディック一家が住むククルーマウンテンでございます。そのゾルディック一家は10人家族。曽祖父、祖父、祖母、父、母、その下に5人の兄弟がいて、
Five siblings,
全員
okay.
殺し屋です。
こりゃすげえ。
Zoldyck?
別名黄泉への扉。
Oh, the door to Hades,
生きて
okay.
戻れないとの理由からそう呼ばれております。
おいおい、正門って山ははるか向こうだぜ。
はい、ここから先の樹海はもちろんククルーマウンテンもすべてゾルディック家の敷地ということです。
ねえガイドさん。
はい。
中に入るにはどうしたらいいの？
私の説明聞いてました？
It's like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
中に入れば二度と生きては出られません。
Nobody ever goes
殺し屋
in.
の隠れ家なのよ。
はったりだろ。
誰も見たことのない暗殺一家。
Oh, you'll find out.
顔写真にさえ1億近い懸賞金がかかってるって話だ。
Go, give it a shot.
マジか。くそ、キルアの写真撮っとけやがった。
噂だけが一人歩きして伝説となり、実際は全く大したことねえってのがオチよ。
That might be the case for some, but not for this family.
心配すんな。どうせあんたのご主人様は俺たちに始末されるんだ。
Is this just a normal? Oh. Yeah, they're not coming back out. He knows it.
ミケが餌以外の肉食べちゃうよ。
Oh, right. The Watchdog in the title.
時間外の食事は止められてるのにな。ミケ、
Mike.
とても知らないよ。
A dragon? Perhaps? Maybe not. Oh, yeah. That's the one. Look at that.
なるほどね。キルア坊ちゃんの友達ですかい。嬉しいね。私は20年勤めてるけど、あんたたちが初めてだよ。
Ah, how about that?
友人としてここに来てくれた人はね。雇われの身でこんなこと言うと罰が当たりそうだけど。
Yeah, I bet.
しかし、君らを邸内に入れるわけにはいかんのです。さっき君らも見たでしょ。でかい生き物の腕を。
Just the arm.
あれはミケと言って、
ミケ。
ゾルディック家の番犬なんです。
Zoldyck.
家族以外の命令は聞かないし懐かない。今も10年近く前に主人から出された命令を忠実に守っている。坊ちゃんの大事な友達を骸骨にするわけにはいか
Yeah,
ない
I mean, he's just doing his job.
シュエさん、あなたはなぜ無事なんですか？あなたは中に入るんでしょう？中に入る必要がないなら鍵を持つ必要もないですからね。
いいとこつくね。でも半分あたりで半分外れです。私は入るのに鍵は使えません。これは侵入者用の鍵なんですよ。ああいう連中は不思議なもんで、十中八九正面から堂々とやってくる。 それで扉を開けられないともう壊してでも正面から入りたがるんだな。侵入者は無抵抗の私から鍵を奪い
It's all set up.
されるって戦法だ。
That's why you just handed it over.
お察しの通り私は守衛じゃない。
Yeah, I kind of pointed at him earlier.
する掃除婦です。
そして本当の門には鍵がかかっていない。
その通り。鍵かかってんじゃねえの？単純に力が足らんのですよ。アホが全力でやってるっつうの。
Let me show you, hey?
まあご覧なさい。
Hey, look at him, man. He's built.
この門の正式名称は試しの門。こ
Ah,
の門さえ開けられないような輩では
the testing gate, you say.
ゾルディック家に入る資格なしってことです。
Oh, it closes back up.
ミケなら大丈夫。試しの門を開けて入ってきた者は攻撃するなと命令されてるから。
It is the testing gate after all. If you can get
し
through.
んどくなってきてね。でも開けられなくなったらクビだから必死ですよ。ちなみに1の扉は片方2トンあります。2トン？扉が7まであるでしょ。
Oh my god.
一つ数が増えるごとに重さが倍になってる。ちなみにキルア坊ちゃんがこの間戻ってきた時は3の扉まで開きましたよ。
3ってことは
Gone.
12トン16トンだよ。
お分かりかね。敷地内に入るだけでこの調子なんだ。
友達に会いに来ただけなのに試されるなんてまっぴらだから。
Yeah.
俺は侵入者でいいよ。鍵を貸して。俺は侵入者用の扉から入る。ゴン、
お前
Gone.
友達を試すなんて変だよ。絶対そんな扉からは入らない。
強行突破は無理ですよ。
Mike.
絶対ミケに殺される。
私も同感だ。
I love this theme so much.
ダメだ。こうなっちまったら聞かねえからな。
Yeah, he made up his mind.
ああ、もしもしゼブロです。
Zebro.
実はですね、今ここにキルア坊ちゃんのお友
Oh,
達
gosh.
という方が3名見えてるんですが、わかります。はい。すみません、失礼します。屋敷への連絡はすべて羊に通すんですよ。
I'm sure
家
even
族まで
that
はめったに
dude's
繋が
quite
らない
interesting.
です。
キルア様に友達などおりません。
なんでお前にそんなことがわかるんだ。いいからキルアを出せ。
君、ゴン君と言ったかな？
ああ、
仮にキルア様にゴンという名前の友人がいるとして、
キルアを出してくれればわかる。
声でわかると当てにはならないね。
キルアを出してくれればわかる。
今のはただのテープだが、次は会えばわかるかな。
Ah,
確かに全身そっくりの偽物を用意する方法は限られてくるが、
ooh.
それでも不可能ではないし、可能性がある限りキルア様は出せない。
Oh, I like him.
ゾルディック家は
ゾルディック
暗殺を生りとしている。自然敵も増える。余計な外敵から主を守るのは我々羊の務め。
そこまで迷惑はかけられない。
いいえ、行きます。残っても同じことですから。
うん
キルア坊ちゃんの友達を見殺しにしたら、もう坊ちゃんに合わせる顔がありません。
At least if I go
あなたたちが
myself.
死ねば、私も死にます。
Gone? Are you gonna put him through
わ
it?
かったよ、おじさん。おじさんのこと全然考えてなかったね。ごめん。
いい子だ。他人のために自分の怒りを収める優しさを持っている。自分の力を信じ、それと同じぐらい仲間を信頼している。
Good judge of character, this man.
ゴン君は動物が好きでしょ
うん。
う。やはりね、ずっと野山を遊び場にして
おや
いたんじゃないですか。
なんでわかるの？
ゴン君、もう一度私が試しの門を開けます。今度はミケを正面から見てください。
おい、俺たちも入って平気なのか。
Oh,
試しの
God,
門
the score's
から
been so
入れば
good
大丈夫です
this episode.
ミケ
J-
おいで
Oh. The Oreo. Whoa. How cool. Beautiful.
ゴン君、わかったかな？あれが完璧に訓練された狩猟犬ってやつですよ。君が野山で見てきたどんな野獣とも全く違う。コミュニケーション取れる自信があったんでしょう。ミケの目を見るまでは。ミケは今、初めて見る人間の姿と匂いを記憶しています。ゴン君、こいつと戦えるかい？
やだ、怖い。絶対戦いたくない。
本当に素直な子だな。さて、君たちはいつまでここに？
キルアに会うまで。それまでは絶対に帰らない。
試し
Morning music.
そしてミケ、ゴンはゾルディック家の人間が自分たちとは全く違う世界に住んでいることを目の当たりにした。
Illumi said as much, right?
それでもゴンは心に誓っていた。この先どんな困難が待ち受けていようと必ずキルアに会うのだと。
Okay, episode 22. Yeah, I'm into the next chapter proper at this point, right? I mean, it is kind of a strange feeling, I'm not gonna lie, because I'm so used to seeing, I don't know, the participants, right? From the Hunter exam. I've spent a lot of time on that cast of characters, right? People like Hisoka, right? Hisoka, come on. That's my dude. You know, people like Hanzo, people like Illumi. I mean, Illumi is essentially around the corner. He's around, right? And, you know, everything he said about the estate, you know, the Kukuru Mountain and all of that. Yeah, it's spot on, you know. It's actually kind of refreshing, right? This whole notion of this, I don't know, this assassin family just kind of living in the open. Now, you know, that granted, you know, it's not quite in the open because the land itself, the amount of land that they own is kind of mental. It's insane, right? So they've accumulated generational wealth, right? And, you know, in terms of, you know, them being these famous assassins or this famous family of assassins, and you look at just how they live and the things they can afford, you really kind of have to begin thinking about the clients that are in the position to hire them, right? Sure, you know, there might have been humble beginnings and, you know, any potential backstory. I'd be more than happy for that. But yeah, you know, as it's playing out, I'm thinking about the potential clientele of this assassin family, right? You know, I think you even have to begin thinking at the highest level possible, like political assassinations, you know, perhaps that level of thing. Maybe stuff on the high-end corporate level, espionage and just, I don't know, you know, taking out competitors, all of that, right? So yeah, you know, listen, I'll be honest, the mystique that they build up around this family, oh my goodness, it really gets you excited. It certainly has me excited. It does. It really does. And of course, you know, like I mentioned, I've seen Illumi. I've seen at least one other member of this family. And then, of course, you know, our lovely guard, or essentially, I think he said the janitor. You know, he's not really a guard. He's more so a janitor for Mike, right? I think he's delightful, right? As of this point, I have no reason to believe that he is being deceptive, right? I mean, he's certainly testing them. I think he is testing them to potentially gauge how friendly they truly are, right? With the young master, Killua. And of course, I'll come back to Zabro, but let's kind of focus on the family, right? 10 members, great-grandfather, grandfather, mother, father, of course, grandmother as well, of course. So that's 5 of them, and then 5 siblings. I've seen the 2. There's 3 more. So of course, I'm really quite excited to meet them. I'm sure it's going to be quite the fascinating family dynamic. Hell, I'm sure I might actually even end up liking a few of them, or at least one of them. You know, surely there could be another likable family member, or maybe not likable, but interesting. Right? Again, you don't have to be likable or you know, kind and good character to be a fascinating character. Of course not, right? So I'm excited about that. Hell, even this butler is really quite fascinating. Just on that first appearance, right? But it's fascinating because here you have a family of assassins, clearly the best of the best in the business, of course. Yet you have people like this butler who feels that they do need to protect that family. They need to take a lot of caution against, potential deception, nefarious intent. You see the amount of care they take to kind of separate themselves from the outside world. But that's the thing, that in itself actually makes you even more excited about the potential of meeting them, getting to meet them. And to go back to the butler, I believe he said something along the lines of, it is our duty or it's our job to defend or, no, not defend, guard. I think he said guard our masters, right? So that in itself just feels like something so interesting, doesn't it? And, he did say butlers. So there's, of course, a few more of them. This might be the head of that faction, I suppose. And then, of course, I also get to meet Mike, who absolutely terrifies Gon and the others as well. Everyone is really quite cautious other than Zebro, of course. I think it's really quite interesting that Gon is that terrified of Mike. It's a good thing that he is, right? He has no notions of trying to be brave in that moment. And as Zebro noted, he's an honest one. It's a wholesome moment from Zebro's perspective, how honest he is. But yeah, Gon did not want any part of trying to go up against Mike, right? Those eyes, it's a majestic creature, beautiful even. That was my first thought, but there's something in those eyes, right? And, I think something to note here is that one line of dialogue as Zebro turns to Gon and then, says something along the lines of, Gon-kun, do you understand now? Right? This is a highly trained hunter. It's a watchdog that is really, really quite loyal to the family and really quite persistent, right? Given the fact that it's still following an order that was given to it 10 years ago by the master. I thought it was just a really interesting encounter at the end there. And Zebro telling Gon or saying that to Gon, do you understand now? In that tone, in that cadence. I don't know, a part of me felt like he was also kind of alluding to Killua, right? That essentially Killua is not quite at that level just yet, right? You see Gon's reaction to Mike, who you could kind of consider a bit of an assassin as well, right? So a part of me thought maybe Zebro is implying that, your friend Killua isn't quite at that level yet. He hasn't reached that level just yet, of this ice cold, terrifying assassin. Even though that's crazy to say because of how formidable he is and how scary he can be, right? But there's levels. Clearly there's levels. Or it's entirely possible that I'm just kind of, looking at things that aren't really there and then he didn't really mean to imply anything. But that being said, Gon has also faced Illumi, who is quite the established assassin. He is the final product, essentially, right? And he didn't feel that terrified in front of him. He didn't feel terrified at all in front of him. So I don't know, there's something really quite unique about Mike and Mike's presence. But speaking of presence, let's kind of shift the focus back to Zebro for a moment. Something happens there, right? It's impossible to miss. Of course, he's got a bit of a sleeper build under those clothes of his, but he taps into something, some kind of source of energy, right? He kind of levels up. I don't know. There is some kind of energy that's flowing through him that allows him to kind of open those gates, or at least allows him to tap into his core strength or something. Kind of elevates his core strength. So I feel like once again, I am seeing something on display here that isn't explained just yet, but it's there for me to see and pick up as an audience member. Right, much like how during the Hunter exam, there's a lot of really interesting stuff that's going on that hasn't been explained yet, be it through Hisoka, be it through some of the others. In terms of something that is kind of similar to Chi, there is something flowing through a lot of them. So that is one thing to keep an eye out for, right? And of course, the old man strength as well, right? There's always that running joke, but he's able to open up that gate, right? And he said that Killua opened up 3 of those. And the next question also becomes, how come there's 7 gates? 7 gates and, the gate to Hades, the entrance to Hades and all of that. I love all of that, right? I mean, the whole place, you have so many parallels, right? Mount Doom and the Black Gate. It kind of even reminded me of Dragonstone, right? The path and all of that, the gate. Even I know it might be a little bit absurd, but even a bit reminiscent of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Nobody ever goes in, nobody ever comes out, right? That was the mystique and the lore of the factory itself, right? It was kind of reminding me of that. And then of course, there's Wonka himself, who is also this really mysterious figure, much like, again, the family that lives here. But in terms of the gate itself, the testing gate, and there being 7 of them, you kind of have to begin thinking about the outcome of opening more gates, because as showcased by Zebro, you can go through by just opening the first one, right? But there's the possibility of opening more. So since it is the testing gate, I'm thinking, they kind of get that report of some sort, right? That, this individual who came through opened this amount of gates. But yeah, through the character of Zebro, you get a lot of fantastic insight and exposition about the family in the estate itself, that he's been there 20 years and that no one's ever come to visit. No friends of the family have ever actually showed up, right? Because that notion is just so far-fetched. They have no friends. That's this principal belief, right? That, people like them do not need friends. They don't need ties to the outside. They don't need ties to anyone else. They don't need emotional connections. So it is really quite the lonely job and place for someone like Zebro, right? But like I said earlier, yeah, he seems delightful, and that's kind of, I don't know, surprising that they do employ someone like that. But again, he's essentially on the outside, yet he has a job to do nonetheless. Again, as of this point, I have no reason to doubt him or his character. I'm not thinking that he's putting on an act or anything. And of course, there's a lot of fun moments in this episode as well, right? But, one of them essentially being those 2 guys that showed up, right? They don't care about the mystique of this family. They don't even believe in it. They think it's all just grandstanding. It's all just kind of living off of this mystique that they've built up, right? And, they go right in because, there's a key. So many people like them show up that they just decided, okay, it's better to just give them the key. They're not coming back out anyways, certainly not alive, right? So they actually built a separate gate because it's such a problem, right? It's more troublesome than a problem, really. But of course, as expected, this notorious, famous family certainly attracts a lot of attention, right? Be it as simple as tourists, wanting to get a glimpse of the gate, the testing gate, or be it these people that think they can just go in there. They can just go right in there and, there's nothing special about this family. And of course, Zebro and us, the audience, also gets to learn more about Gon. I mean, a lot of it is kind of established at this point, but it's always good to see someone else's opinion of Gon, right? Someone else's understanding, especially someone that is an old head. Someone who does have a lot of life experience. So Zebro felt that he's a good kid, he's an honest kid, and that he is capable of controlling his feelings, right? His emotions, for another person's sake. That he is able to quell his own anger for another person's sake, right? Because, yeah, you see the stubborn side of Gon on display as well. But there was an interesting moment, I think. Zebro actually kind of felt interested in seeing Gon's reaction, or seeing Mike's reaction to Gon and Gon's reaction to Mike, right? He felt that he has a strong heart, I believe. Because at one point, as Zebro is kind of thinking to himself, he did think that there is a possibility that Mike might not frighten him at all. But of course, that's not the case. Also, the butler actually mentioned something quite interesting that I think is most likely going to come into play at some point. Mimicking someone's appearance. He said there's a few effective methods to do it, but it's not something that is easy to pull off from the sounds of it. So yeah, that's something interesting to keep in mind for sure for the future of the series, of the story. But let me end it off by going back to the beginning of the episode, right? The opening of the episode is Gon is lost in his thoughts. It was accompanied by this really beautiful, melancholic piece of music. And I felt that moment really drove home just how much Killua's friendship has meant to him, how much it's impacted him in such a short amount of time, And you know, they show us 2 moments of Killua as well in those flashbacks, even though Gon isn't there for the second part of it, right? He was injured, he was out cold around the time Killua killed Bodoro, right? But it's night and day, isn't it? You know, on one end, you've got the really chill, base level Killua, right? And on the other end, you've got the killer instinct Killua. He almost looks like a different person. You know, there's that look in his eyes, the same look I see in the eyes of Mike. It's the same look Illumi has as well. It's interesting that they brought that up, or they felt the need to kind of contrast those 2 sides of Killua in Gon's headspace. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access to the next few episodes right now, or perhaps even full opacity or timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. If that is something you are interested in, the links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, things like Twitter and Instagram. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 23. Until then, take it easy.